Hi, Steve Arterburn here, and thanks for joining me going deeper. And we're going to go deeper into understanding and loving a person who has depression. We've got a whole book on understanding and loving a person with depression. Linda Hunter is the PhD involved with me on this one, and you can get it at 1-800-NEW-LIFE or newlife.com. But I want to take just some time to give you some tips if someone you love or someone in your family is struggling with depression. Now, it's frustrating when somebody is depressed. It's frustrating to be depressed, I'll tell you that. So, I understand what it's like to be around a depressed person and understand what it's like to be that person. In my bloodline, there was this, I think it's like a great grandmother, would go to someone's house and go to bed there in depression and stay like a month. Who would even allow that? It was crazy. Yeah, literally crazy. My grandfather committed suicide. He had bipolar, and he received electric shock therapy at a time before they put people or anesthetized them, before they did that. And so he felt that pain and said he would never, ever go back and have that done again. Now, interestingly enough, the ECT actually helped him. But then he sunk back down into the depression. So I know what it's like to have a familial bloodline that's predisposed to this. I know what it's like to be around somebody who's chronically depressed. So I want to give you some tips. I hope this is going to help you understand and love that person. I think these are some things that they really need. Now, the first thing I would say that they need is some empathy, and just a willingness to listen to them. You want to listen, you don't want to lecture, that never helps, but you want to validate the feeling without saying, I know how you feel, because good chance you don't. And you don't ever want to minimize the pain that they're going through. They're not just in a bad mood, and they're not able to pull themselves up by the bootstraps, or they would have. They may have even learned how to become depressed, and they live in this state almost by choice, but you don't get them out of that choice by doing anything other than trying to empathize, validate. Do I have that right? You're saying that you feel like you're falling into a dark pit and you don't know if there's any end to the falling. So you want to validate. Boy, that must be horrible. And you want to be sure that you get it right. That kind of listening really does help a person with depression. Because sometimes in talking, and it's hard to talk when you're depressed, but sometimes in talking you actually stumble onto a source of the depression or a source for the solution from it. So listen, validate, and if you hear anything that you think is really important, for instance, someone says, I remember every Christmas never getting a gift from my parents. And here you are, it's Christmas time and they're depressed. Now there's a connection there. So you might say to them, that's really sad. I wonder if that's why every season like this you're depressed. Could be that. Could be a hormonal thing like seasonal affective disorder. You just don't know. Second thing, one of the keys to healing on the inside is getting this person outside. So if we could get them outside. I remember when I was deeply depressed, and it literally was my goal to get out of bed by noon. Now that's how depressed I was. I don't look depressed now, at least I don't think I do. But I was that depressed. And so I would set a goal, get out of bed by noon, and then I would go out onto a golf course with a putter and an iron. I had two clubs. I just carried them around, didn't have a bag. And I walked that course, and I got outside, and I think it might have saved my life. I couldn't jog, couldn't run too much. But anytime that you could get that person outside, take them on a walk, or just get outside to sit on the porch, it's better than inside. Outside, always better than inside. What if it's 30 below zero? Outside is always better than inside. That might do a little stimulating impact to the system to get out in that kind of cold weather. So you really do want to encourage them to join you outside. And you can even say, you know, I'm so sad for you, and I would do anything to help you. In fact, I heard a guy say that the best help is trying to encourage going outside. It's not the solution. I'm not saying that's going to fix anything. But if you could just walk with me, or we could go sit outside for a little while, or why don't we just go breathe some fresh air for a minute? Anything like that is helpful. Third thing, you want to encourage them to get some great help. A lot of times people are focused on home remedies. People that are saying all you have to do is, you know, when you're chronically depressed, there's no all you have to do is solution. It's very complex, and it involves a lot of different things. For instance, a chronically depressed person really does need to go to someone who asks them, what are you eating? You know, if it's all sugar and starch, then that's going to play into the blood sugar level going up and down, very unstable, a lot of instability and unstable feelings are going to be there. So you want to look at diet, if they are able to walk, exercise, something like that. But it's not just a small thing. It's a comprehensive thing, and we'll talk about some more of those things. But if you could help them find, and maybe you just on your own, you do some research and you find out in your area, here's the best therapist known to help with chronic depression. Then you can tell them, here's what I've found. And when you're ready, I want to connect you. If you have the resources, you could even say, I want to pay for the first session, or maybe the first 2 or 3 sessions, whatever it is. You want to motivate them to get the best help possible. Not simple help, not from people that aren't tried and true, not people that just have a simplistic approach to this very, very deep problem. Now, you want to talk to them about some fatal fears. Oh, I'm afraid of medication, they might say. I don't want to take anything. Well, you know, they're dying. And the only thing you'd be afraid of in medications make you sick. They are already sick, or they'd kill you. They are already dead. So you want to help them confront that fear by talking about how these very brilliant folks go off to medical school. They get these degrees, and they don't want to hurt anybody. And they're always looking for another way to help. You can talk about how horrible medicine used to be, but man, recently there are just some great, great medicines that can help you. And a psychiatrist really is the one that can help you find the best medication for your situation. So you want to help them be open to even medication. Be open to going to a therapist. Be open to going to a support group of other people. You want them to open the world when it's really closed off and dark. But don't be impatient with them. All right. You want to also pray for them and pray with them. You want them praying. You want to pray, asking for God's presence, God's comfort, God's strength, guidance, leadership, praying with them, praying for them, encouraging them to pray. Prayer is part of this. Now, what you want to do is see that the ultimate goal is them getting help. So if the goal is them getting help, you don't need to give them advice. The only advice or encouragement or direction should be toward getting help. You're just saying to them, you know, you have an extreme limitation here, and all of us have them. And if you've got one, you know, I have an extreme limitation that I don't handle alcohol the same as other people do. So I don't drink, and haven't in over 12 years. So the depressed person has a limitation. You just have this area, this area that needs help. And so if my goal is them getting help, then I don't need advice. So, you know, encourage them to get help. No simple answers. But then also, again, be sure you know the goal is them getting help, and you're not giving advice or shaming them or whatever. Now, here's something that's really important. If you're a committed family member or loved one or friend, how about learning whatever you can about depression? This little book, Understanding and Loving a Person with depression. It's a great, wonderful start. You can go online, you can look at things, but try to discover all the different elements and dimensions of depression. And you can do that. And it's never been easier to do. And so then, you can say to them when you're with them, and you just want to be with them, well, I've been reading a lot about depression. I really care about you, and I care about you so much, I want to know everything I can know, because surely it must be tough to be depressed like this. And so, number 8, I just set aside all of that to say this too, that being there with the person is so valuable. Saying nothing, expecting them to say nothing. Not looking at your phone, but just being there and being at peace with being with them is such a calming thing and such a gift to them. And they sense it. No one would sit here with me unless they really cared about me. Maybe the source of the depression would be no one's ever cared for me, cared about me. If that's the case, you're going to override that memory by your presence being there with no expectation of great conversation or anything like that. Now, it's important that you see there may be a lack of anybody that cares for them. And so any kind of little gesture of caring can really mean a lot. A person getting a card in the mail, big deal. A text is great. Email is great. Taking over a meal or cooking with them, all great. But I just don't ever want to minimize the power of a handwritten note to somebody that's depressed. Hey, just thinking about you. Here's a great verse. Hope you like it. I was using it yesterday. Thought of you. Whatever you want to do. Just don't shame them in the note. But let them know you are their friend and you care and you're there. So you're there, and then when you're not, you're doing some little gestures that show that you care. Now, let me just mention this again. I've kind of talked about this, but I want to nail it here on point number 10, is that criticism does no good. This kind of tough love kind of approach, that doesn't work here. Don't criticize and don't judge. Don't come up with some conclusion about this person as to why they are depressed. Just be there. And don't come up with these simplistic solutions. They don't help. So you want to be sure that you're being patient and that your impatience doesn't lead to judgmentalism or criticism. Now, number 11, it is really important that you help them see the right diagnosis that they have. A person could be bipolar and all they do is think that they're depressed. A person could be a lot of other things too. There could be schizophrenia and they think they're depressed. And so when you're moving them toward getting the best help possible, you're moving them toward getting the best diagnosis possible. For some people, a change in diet is all they need. Isn't that amazing? For other people, all they have to do is exercise in a different way. For some, a medication puts them in a whole different world of existence. And it's not evil to take medication. When Paul was writing to Timothy, he said, hey, Timothy, be sure and take a little wine for your stomach because you're sick so much. He didn't say, Timothy, you're sick a lot. You need to read the Bible more, pray more. No, there was no shaming there. And he was saying that wine is kind of like a medicine, and wine does alter the mood a little bit. But the kind of medicine that a depressed person needs doesn't alter the mood. I would just help that person to be open to anything that might be helpful. And the way you do that is that you become open to anything that would be helpful to you. That you're able to say, here's something that I do that seems to help me a lot. Just be a better person. So those are 11 different things that you could do to help somebody that's depressed. I'll show you the book one more time. Understanding and Loving a Person with Depression. You could be the link to them getting better. But it's not going to happen quickly or easily. It'll take a lot of time, a lot of patience. And if you've got that, you could make a world of difference. I hope these are helpful to you. And maybe you've got another friend or family member that they ought to watch this, and then together the two of you or three of you can put a full court press in this person, knowing they are loved and cared about and heard. That may help the depression. It might not. But you be there for them anyway. So that is going deeper into how do we help somebody who is really, really depressed. And I hope it's helpful to you. God bless you. I know it's not easy, but I hope this has maybe given you an idea or two you haven't thought about. You take care, and if you need any help or you want us to find a clinician for the person that's depressed, you call us at 1-800-NEW-LIFE.